Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 68 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope uh, you continue to enjoy this show, and I hope that this show provides a brief break from whatever it is that you're going through in life. I hope this show at least brings you some joy. So I just before I get started, just want to remind everybody, if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and spread the word. Um, Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, with all that out of the way, let's kick off. I want to start with this. So, one of as a child who was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, naturally, there are certain um, action movie stars that I grew up watching. Sylvester Stallone. You know, I'm a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, but I also am a huge fan of Jean Claude Van Damme. I he's awesome. Uh, all the martial arts stuff that he did. Bloodsport. Even though, okay, I acknowledge Bloodsport is kind of a mediocre movie, but I fucking love it. He's just making those classic facial expressions. I I love Jean Claude Van Damme, and when he showed up, even though he played the villain in Expendables 2, when he showed up in Expendables 2, when I found out he was going to be in Expendables 2, and then his first scene, I was like, yes, that's Jean Claude Van Damme. It's awesome. Um, so is he's been kind of, I want to say, um, doing some l- lesser watched films like straight to DVD stuff, which is, it is what it is. Um, so, um, but he's set to be in this new movie um, that uh, is going to be launching at the Cannes Film Festival. So hopefully it'll play in theaters. This article is on Variety, published by Alex Rittman. Um, and a little ways down here, this article says the martial arts star Jean Claude Van Damme and action veteran, or I should say, the martial arts star and action veteran Jean Claude Van Damme is set to top line World War II action epic Raid Pacific with Stephen Luke attached to direct. And this article goes on to say that based on true events, Raid Pacific is a wartime thriller, set in the tense aftermath of the attack on Pearl Harbor. The story follows Captain William Pierce, played by Jean Claude Van Damme, a decorated U.S. French submarine commander tasked with a high stakes mission. To transport a small unit of Marine raiders deep into enemy controlled waters. Their objective is to destroy a critical Japanese outpost, one that could shift the balance of the war. This sounds really, really interesting. Um, I don't. Let me see here. I want to look something up to make sure. So I love that this is based on true events. Again, this you know, um, so one of the things. Okay, even so, the Pearl Harbor movie that was directed by Michael Bay, which is terrible, by the way, terrible. But one of the things that um, I did actually really love about that movie was that movie showed the Doolittle raid, which is uh, D- Doolittle played by Alec Baldwin. He uh, leads bombers to um, um, uh, he leads bombers to bomb Tokyo. Um, and it was the first initial it was the initial retaliation for what happened at Pearl Harbor. And I love that that movie showed that because, I don't think that the Doolittle raid um it, it deserves more recognition. I think maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Um but so I love that this now I say all that because I love that this is um, going to be another movie like that where it's going to be about um, a retaliation for what happened at Pearl Harbor. Maybe a story that isn't as maybe a little known true story. Um, you know, I hope I'm making sense. Um, and to be honest, I love. I don't know if you would call it a genre, but I love submarine movies. Like The Hunt for Red October, um, Das Boot, which is fucking amazing. Um, K-19 The Widowmaker. That's a decent movie. I just love submarine movies. There was the Tom Hanks movie that came out. It didn't play in theaters. I think it was on Apple TV called Greyhound, which I actually heard was really good. Um, but I need to watch that. I just love submarine movies. So and this sounds great. And again, it sounds like it's going to be based on true events and maybe true events that don't get talked about enough. Um, and Jean Claude Van Damme, being in this is going to be really interesting, and it sounds like this could be um, maybe I hope it gets played in theaters. You know, Nobody wants to watch Jean Claude Van Damme on the small screen. When it comes to his new movies, we all want to see him kick ass on. I mean, kick ass on the big screen. This sounds great to me. This sounds awesome. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So this next bit of news is very special, uh, especially to me. So one of my favorite filmmakers is Guillermo del Toro. I absolutely love his work. I love his style. Um, you know, the Hellboy movies, Pan's Labyrinth, which is incredible. The Shape of Water. I haven't seen his Frankenstein movie yet. Pacific Rim, which is really good. I think Hellboy 2 is just a bit better than the first one, and I really enjoy both of them. But I think and of course, he directed my beloved Blade 2 with Wesley Snipes, which was the first, you know, uh, I've talked about this before, but I saw Blade 2. Yeah, Blade 2 was the first movie that was the first R-rated movie that I was able to see in a movie theater by myself. So that's always going to be very special to me. Now, I also Guillermo del Toro is very inspiring to me personally because, well, personally and professionally, because as a uh, as an aspiring amateur filmmaker, uh, whenever I am feeling stuck or feeling whenever I need to get inspired, I should say, um, all I need to do is one of the things that I do is I watch Guillermo del Toro's Oscar speech when The Shape of Water won Best Picture at the Oscars. It is incredibly inspiring. Um, and um, just his passion about filmmaking, especially about animation. He loves animation. I need to see. Didn't he do? There was a Pinocchio movie that he did. I need to see that. The way he talks about filmmaking and the way he talks about, if you have a dream, then just kick the door down and go for it. I really really he's one of my favorite filmmakers. Well, speaking of animation, he is going to be um, uh, his next production, I should say, um, is going to be a stop motion animated movie. This article is on CBR, published on May 12th. um, so this article also points out that Guillermo del Toro that he'll be working with Ron Perlman again for this upcoming movie. Now, obviously, Guillermo del Toro has worked with Ron Perlman quite a bit. Ron Perlman was in Blade 2. He was obviously in the Hellboy movies. He was in Pacific Rim. It seems to me they have a good, close, personal and professional relationship, which is awesome. So, a little ways down in this article, it says, per Deadline, Guillermo del Toro has revealed that his next production is a stop-motion adaptation of Kazuo Ishiguro's 2015 novel, The Buried Giant. The director has described the movie as a fascinatingly difficult stop-motion movie for adults, which is being made without any concession to a family audience. Del Toro also confirmed that he's reuniting with Perlman on the project. although he didn't state exactly which role he will be playing. Um, Ron Perlman was also in Guillermo del Toro's debut film, Kronos, which is fucking amazing. It's so good. Um, so let me see here. So this a little further down in this article, it says it talks about the novel, um, The Buried Giant. Um, it says the original novel version of The Buried Giant follows an elderly British couple, Axel and Beatrice. They live in a fictional depiction of post Arthurian England, where no one is able to retain long term memories. That sounds really, really interesting. That sounds really cool. Post Arthurian England. Okay, that sounds interesting. I fucking love this. Now, this a stop motion animated movie for adults. Any without any concession to a family audience. This says to me that and not that um I'm trying to think of how to say this. Not that I don't think we haven't gotten this before, but this sounds to me like Guillermo del Toro is just like, fuck it, I'm gonna lay it out all on the table. This is gonna be full-fledged Guillermo del Toro. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want with this story. And that sounds awesome. That's great. I fucking love this. Um, I I love when uh, I love when creators get to do this kind of thing. Would they have the clout to say, you know what, I'm just gonna this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna leave it all on the table. This is gonna be me at the peak of my power, so to speak. Me doing whatever the fuck I want. I love this. And I love stop motion animation. I love the craft of it. I love the look of it. Um it was interesting because um I was several years ago I was talking with someone about who was going into animation, and he was debating on going into whether to go into traditional 2D animation or stop motion. I'm like, dude, go into stop motion because 2D animation is dead. 2D animation has been dead for a while. Go into stop motion. Stop motion animation is great. It's the craft of it. There's just something tangible about stop motion animation. I think it's great, and I do want to point out. Speaking of stop motion animation, several years ago, I up until about 3 to 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I don't know. I had never seen, and I know, up until about 3, 4, 5 years ago, I had never seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it was re-released in theaters for its anniversary. I think it was its 30th anniversary or something like that. And my wife and I went to the theater to go see it, and I had never seen it before. And I fucking loved it. It was great. It was great. And a big reason I thought it was wonderful was because of the animation. Again, there's something, just the feel and look of stop motion animation. I love it. And Guillermo del Toro doing this sounds awesome. Maybe Ron Perlman will provide a voice, do some voice work for this movie. We'll see. But this sounds awesome. You know, a post Arthurian where no one. So do they remember? I don't know. That's all I know. What I know about the book is what this article says. Like, do they remember King Arthur? Like, what happened? So this sounds great. So jump in the comments section and let me know your thoughts on Guillermo del Toro's stop motion animated adaptation of The Buried Giant. Okay. So, a bit of disappointing news. Uh, so, I. You guys know I'm a big Star Wars junkie. And us, I have either. I really enjoy all the Star Wars Disney Plus shows. I enjoy some more than others. Like, um, my least favorite one is the Book of Boba Fett, and I think it's a decent show, but it's my least favorite. Yes, I enjoyed the Acolyte more than the Book of Boba Fett. You know, sue me. I don't care. But one of I think the better shows, and a show that I really loved, was Ahsoka, the Ahsoka Disney Plus series. I love that. I love that show. And for a while, it was there were rumors and reports about if it's going to get a season 2, and I'm like, oh, that would be great if we got a season 2 of Ahsoka. Um, are we going to get it? When is it happening? Well, we are getting it. It's coming, but there's been some unfortunate news about it. This article is on Movie Web, published by Richard Fink. um, and this article says the wait for Star Wars Ahsoka Season 2 has gotten even longer. Due to the lengthy development and filming cycle of a big budget live action sci fi series, many expected Ahsoka Season 2 would take some time, with the release window largely believed to be 2026, 3 years after Season 1. While a long wait, this would be perfectly timed for the franchise's return to the big screen with The Mandalorian and Grogu, a feature-length spin-off of the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, in which Rosario Dawson made her live-action debut as Ahsoka Tano. Let's see. Where does it say here? I'm looking for the. Oh, this further down, this article says, despite this month's The Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka being complementary Star Wars titles, Lucasfilm is holding off on unleashing the Disney Plus series. At the Disney Upfront event, star Rosario Dawson confirmed that Ahsoka Season 2 will not return until early 2027. No specific release date was given. Can I just? I don't know why, and maybe maybe it's because, like this article points out, the lengthy development and filming cycle of these of big budget live action sci-fi shows. Does anybody remember the day when there weren't 3 years in between seasons of a show? Like season 1 and season 2 were a year apart, and that was that. You know, there was none of this waiting 3 fucking years for season 2. Again, maybe it's because of the lengthy production process. And this, I mean, I, you know, now that being said, it's just frustrating. That's all. Um, that being said, it does suck that we're gonna have to wait longer for season 2. Like, we're gonna have to wait till next year. That blows. Now, at the same time, I have heard rumors and reports that um, Ahsoka season 2 will take place after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So it doesn't affect that. Like, it's still going to take place after the movie. It just sucks that we're going to have to wait longer to get it. That's all. And you know, given I I'll say this. I'm gonna skip the Mandalorian and Grogu movie in the theater. I just because of the word of mouth that I'm hearing about it. I'm like, I don't want to like, and I love the Mandalorian TV series. I love it. It's great. But I don't want to see whether it's a movie based off the TV show or whether it's just like a your typical. I don't want to see. Given the word of mouth that I'm hearing about it, I don't want to see a decent Star Wars movie in the theater. I want to see I want to see a great Star Wars movie in the theater. I wish Rise of Skywalker had been awesome. So I'm going to skip the Mandalorian and Grogu movie in the theater. But one of the things that I'm curious about that movie is, given the ending of Ahsoka season 1, are the ramifications of the ending of Ahsoka season 1 dealt with in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? And if so, does that continue into Ahsoka season 2? That's going to be interesting to see whether that happens. It just sucks that we have to wait 3 fucking years for season 2. That blows. Anyway, I just thought I would touch on that a minute or for a minute. Hold on just a second. So okay. Moving on to more streaming series news. So, you know, I think I talked about this on last episode. I think, one of my favorite and one of the best Marvel Disney Plus series is WandaVision. That show's fucking awesome. And we were all the ending of WandaVision was just like, if anybody who has seen WandaVision, the ending the of season 1 was just like, oh, Well, shit. I wonder how that's going to play out. And then, of course, in uh, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, um, the um, um, Scarlet Witch, um, I'm forgetting I'm forgetting the character's name. Um, um, Wanda, obviously Wanda Maximoff. Uh, I was forgetting her last name, but you have the ending of WandaVision, and then you have the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and the death. I mean, because she hasn't returned since the death of Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. So one of the things that I guess I should have been thinking about and haven't been was, will there's going to be this kind of pseudo sequel series called Vision Quest, um, that is um, uh, going to um, obviously take place after the events of WandaVision. Um, so one of the questions that I one of the things that I guess I should have been thinking about, and for whatever reason I haven't been, was, will the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, will those events be addressed in Vision Quest? Um, and what is the story going to be? So we have some release, we have some information regarding Vision Quest. Um, this article is on Deadline, published by Katie Campione. Um, this article says Marvel's Vision Quest will soar onto TV screens globally later this year. The highly anticipated conclusion to the WandaVision trilogy, as Marvel has dubbed it, will debut on October 14th, star Paul Bettany revealed during Disney's upfront presentation on Tuesday. The trilogy also includes WandaVision and Agatha All Along, which I have not watched yet, but I need to. The Vision spin-off, headlined by Paul Bettany, is said to take place after the events in WandaVision, where the character made a return after Thanos killed him in 2018's Avengers Infinity War. The new series is believed to follow Vision as he tries to regain his memory and humanity. Okay. So it takes place after the events in WandaVision. Does it take place after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or does this take place earlier in the timeline? And does it take place because there was Agatha? I haven't seen Agatha All Along, the TV series, but I know it takes place after WandaVision, right? Will Vision Quest take place? My question is, where does this take place specifically? Like, does it take place in between WandaVision and Agatha All Along? Like, what events does this show address? That's my question. It sounds great, because uh, that was one of the questions at the finale of WandaVision was Vision trying to regain his memory and humanity. That was one of the big questions. So October 14th. Now, if my uh, if my calculations are correct, and they usually are, this means that Vision Quest will be released between Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday. Um, awesome. So that's great. That's cool. So the more Marvel stuff, the better. But yeah. So it's not gonna it's going to be released between. It does not take place between, but it's going to be released between Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday. Just that's going to be pretty cool. So I have no doubt that it's going to be good. Um, Paul Bettany is great as Vision. Um, I just have questions about where specifically this show takes place, and I'm sure those questions will be addressed. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on uh, Vision Quest premiering on October 14th on Disney Plus. Okay, let me see here. So next up, so this next bit of news features two of my favorite uh, people. Um, so this there's this us there's a filmmaker by the name of John Sayles. He's won a couple of or been nominated a couple times for an Oscar. He hasn't made a film in like over 10 years. He directed, I believe, Passion Fish. Um, and but he does have. It has been announced that he's got um, a new movie that will start filming later this year. Um, this article is on Variety, published by John Hopewell. This article says Academy Award winners Amy Madigan and Chris Cooper are set to star in I Passed This Way, a Western from two-time Oscar-nominated filmmaker John Sayles that marks his first feature in more than a decade. Let's see. This article goes on to say now, John Sayles, both his Oscar nominations were for original screenplay. So he's obviously a great writer. And he will be writing this movie, I Passed This Way. This article continues that it says, I Passed This Way is set in 1898 and turns on Ross McEwen, a cowboy who impulsively robs a bank and flees across the arid New Mexico territory. As famed lawman Pat Garrett and his ambitious young deputy close in, Ross takes refuge at a remote Mexican homestead stricken by diphtheria. There he faces a desperate choice: leave the family to die and escape to Mexico, or stay and nurse them back to health and go to jail. Ross must decide what kind of man he wants to be. That sounds really, really interesting. This idea of um, this character who is struggling to figure out what kind of person he wants to be. Like, I love characters like that. I love stories like that. Like I've I've been this way my whole life. You know, is it time to give that up? You know, I love stories. I love stories like that. And you know what? I love westerns. Um, I love the um, tropes of westerns. I love uh, the how they're styled. I love the look and feel of westerns. Um, you know, um, it's just I can't explain it. I love that genre. Um, you know, this kind of um, I don't know how to explain it. I just love westerns. Um, uh, gunslingers and all that. I love that. Now, um, excuse me. I'm getting um. Okay. Now, Amy Madigan. I love that Amy Madigan is going to be in this movie, especially coming off her Oscar win for Weapons, which she crushed it in that movie. She oh my god, Amy Madigan is so good uh in Weapons. Which, by the way, can we just all acknowledge, like, I'm so happy, like, it wasn't just Weapons. It was Weapons, Frankenstein, Sinners. They horror the horror genre uh was deservedly recognized at the Oscars this past year. Um, so Amy Madigan, I can't wait to see her in this. Chris Cooper, I first saw Chris Cooper in American Beauty, which was directed by um, Sam Mendes. Um, I also saw him in uh, Adaptation with Nicolas Cage, which he won the Oscar for. He was also in a movie with. He was also in a movie called August Osage County, where he co-starred alongside Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts, Ewan McGregor, Benedict Cumberbatch. That movie, that movie's kind of a downer. I mean, but it's great. I mean, it's really really good. Um, so he was in that. Um, yeah, August Osage County is pretty decent movie. Um, so I really love Chris Cooper. So I'm wondering, um, like, is Chris Cooper going to play the like I wonder which characters Amy Madigan and Chris Cooper are going to play. I don't. It doesn't really matter to me because they're both gonna be awesome. I'm just curious. And you know what? I hope this movie is successful. I would love for the Western genre to, and it has been slowly coming back. Um, but I would love for westerns to return to um, their glory. It just really sucks that there aren't that many westerns made anymore. That's all I'm trying to say. Um, and it would be nice to see more westerns again. That's all. So this sounds really really interesting. Jump in the comment. This idea of, yeah, I robbed a bank. I'm a criminal, but now I have to decide: do I just leave this family to die, or what am I gonna do? And I'm gonna be judged either way. Um, so jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on that. Okay. So this next, I'm going to struggle with this next bit of news, but not for the reasons you might think. So one of my favorite filmmakers is a director by the name of Ang Lee. Ang Lee directed Brokeback Mountain, which is fantastic. Brokeback Mountain is great. I believe he directed Sense and Sensibility. He also directed Life of Pi. I even enjoyed. He directed in 2003. He directed a Hulk movie. The Incredible Hulk. It wasn't called The Incredible Hulk. It was just called Hulk. With Eric Bana and Jennifer Connelly and Sam Elliott. It's decent. It's decent. Um, a lot of people shit on that movie. I think it's a decent film. Ang Lee is he's one of my favorite filmmakers, and he's done a lot of interesting projects. So, and he's just lined up his next film, and I believe it's let's see here. I believe it's starting. It is either starting to film. It's going to start filming soon, or it has already begun filming. Um, Now the reason I'm going to struggle with this article is because and I hope I don't. I hope this doesn't sound offensive in any way, but there are many there are actors and actresses in this film because, well, let me just back up here for a second. So this article is on Deadline, published by Justin Kroll and Andreas Weissman. And this article says that Ang Lee is going to direct a film adaptation. There was this book, there was this novel by C. Pam Zhang called How Much of These Hills is Gold? Ang Lee is going to be directing the film adaptation of the novel, and it's going to be called Gold Mountain. Now, let me just read the synopsis here. A little ways down here, the article says, um, based on C. Pam Zhang's acclaimed novel, How Much of These Hills is Gold, the story is set during the dying embers of the American gold rush. It centers on two newly orphaned, Chinese immigrant children as they traverse a hostile California frontier to bury their father and free themselves from their past. They encounter family secrets, sibling rivalry, and glimpses of a different future as the film reveals the story of love, violence, delusion, and theft that made their journey inevitable. Um, First of all, this sounds really, really interesting. This idea of, you know, burying their father. This is going to help us deal with the trauma of their past, and but along the way, that it sounds like, all the sibling rivalry, family secrets. This is going to be, I think this is going to be the type of movie where the these family members go through a lot emotionally, but by the end they're all healed, like everything's fine, which I really love. I love that. And burying their father, maybe there was a traumatic event involving their father. Now, the reason I'm going to struggle with this article is the cast has been announced. However, due to the and I hope I don't come across as offensive when I say this, but due to the fact, so the story involves, it centers on shooting two Chinese immigrant children. Um, Due to the fact that um, I want to make sure that I get my information correct before I continue. Um, so excuse me just a second. Um, so there are a lot of the cast members of this movie. Um, are I believe, um, let me see here. I'm so sorry. Um, the cast of this movie um, is mostly, obviously, um, either um, they're of Chinese American or Asian descent. There's one of the actresses is Taiwanese. I am absolutely, positively not going to pronounce any of these names correctly. That is why I'm struggling with this article. I don't want to butcher any of the names in this article. If you so that is why I'm struggling. I hope I don't come across as, no, I don't. I hope I don't come across as someone like that. That is the only reason I'm struggling. I don't want to butcher any of these actor or actress's names. If you want to look at the cast members um, um, of this movie, this article is on Deadline, published by Justin Kroll and Andreas Weissman. It was published on May 13th. I please forgive me. The actors and actresses in this movie are mostly Chinese American and Asian descent. I don't want to mispronounce any of the names, but I will say that this sounds, like I said, this sounds fantastic. You know, this kind of, they're going on this um, journey that ends up being a little more. They struggle a little more than they thought they would, but at the end, it's kind of this healing process that they go through. And Ang Lee directing this movie. This sounds really, really cool. Uh, really interesting. And you know, I love Ang Lee as a filmmaker. Um, um, so yeah, so jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on on this. Okay, so um, moving on here. So for those who don't know, there is going to be a Legend of Zelda movie. And I think I speak for every Zelda fan out there when I say they better not fuck this up. They better not fuck it up. And I was personally, I was always more, I never really got into Zelda, Legend of Zelda. I mean, I enjoyed the games, but I was always a Mario guy, you know. But I enjoyed, I liked the Legend of Zelda games. Um, uh, the Ocarina of Time was one that's my favorite one. Um, but there's going to be a Legend of Zelda movie. Um, now, um, so Wes Ball is going to be directing this movie. He directed The Maze Runner. He directed Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I loved. Um, and the cast is um, a cast of unknowns, which I think is great. Um, because a lot of times if you cast an unknown, you don't see the actor, you see the character. Um, so and obviously being an unknown, if this movie is good, it'll their careers will skyrocket. I think if you had had a known name playing Link or playing Princess Zelda, you would have a harder time seeing the characters. Um, so um, but there's not much information other than that regarding the movie until now. So the movie's going to be released in a year, but the release date has been there's been some adjustments. This article is on CBR, published by Jamie Levitt. Um, this article says, with almost exactly 1 year left before The Legend of Zelda finally comes to the big screen, Nintendo has decided to move the film's release date. The good news is that they've moved it up, so fans will get to see it a little bit sooner. The Legend of Zelda will now open in theaters on April 30th, 2027, 1 week earlier than its previously announced release date of May 7th, 2027. Shigeru Miyamoto, the co-creator of The Legend of Zelda and longtime creative genius behind Nintendo, announced the date move via Nintendo's social media accounts. Okay. So, we're getting it 1 week earlier. Not a terribly big deal. I don't know. Now, it said that Shigeru Miyamoto announced it on social media. Personally, I don't know if he announced it on social media. Maybe I don't know if he's involved in the making of this film. Like if he's creatively involved. I don't know that. But he's involved enough to know. He's involved enough to announce that the release date has been moved. Obviously. I don't know. So it's been moved up a week. Not a terribly big deal, but moved up a week. Okay. That says to me that the creative people involved and the studio believe in this movie. They want people to see it sooner. Not too much sooner. You don't want to rush it. But there's enough belief behind the scenes. Let's release it a week earlier and see what happens. Now, I don't know off the top of my head if I don't know. The article doesn't say the reasons why it was happening. I'm just spitballing. I'm just theorizing. But maybe there's enough belief behind the scenes for people to go, yeah, you know what, let's do it a week earlier because we think it's gonna be good and it's gonna be done in time and yeah. And by the way, West Ball, I haven't seen The Maze Runner. I've seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That movie's great. So yeah. Uh, I hope it's awesome. I hope it's bloody awesome. Because can you imagine if a Legend of Zelda movie sucks? You gotta have a lot of pissed off people, pissed off fans, that's for sure. But the fact that it's moved up a week gives hope. Hope springs eternal. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on the Legend of Zelda movie moving up a week. Okay. So moving on here. I talked earlier about, the fact that I love submarine movies. One of my other favorite kinds of movies. Again, it's not really a genre. It's more of a, kind of movies are shark movies. I love what is this? I'm terribly sorry. Um um I love movies. I don't know what this says about me. I love movies where we get to see humans being eaten by animals. whether it's shark movies, whether it's dinosaur movies. I love seeing humanity being consumed by predators. There's a reason why animals have existed on this planet for 500 million years. And humanity sucks. Okay? Humanity sucks. My favorite part of Jurassic Park was when the T-Rex ate the lawyer off the toilet. That's my favorite part. You know why? Because even dinosaurs hate lawyers. Okay. I don't know what that says about me. Like I love movies like what was that movie Crawl with the giant alligator? I love movies where animals just consume humanity. They eat people. But I love shark movies. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to shark movies, every shark movie, I think, unfairly gets compared to the granddaddy of them all, which is Jaws. Jaws is awesome. Okay, I'm not denying that. And it still, to this day, could possibly be Steven Spielberg's greatest achievement. And Steven Spielberg has had countless great achievements. But unfortunately, shark movies often get compared to Jaws, which I think is unfair. But I love shark movies. And there's going to be another uh there's going to be a shark movie that involves one of my favorite actresses. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published by Lily Ford. This article says that The Hollywood Reporter can reveal that Kate Beckinsale has bordered action film White from director Jake West, who Jake West, I believe, directed yeah. Actually, I thought he directed that. I'm not familiar with anything that he's directed. But anyway, Jake boarded action film White, obviously referring to the Great White Shark, from director Jake West alongside Catherine McNamara from Maze Runner, The Death Cure, and Shadowhunters. This article does go on to say that Beckinsale will also executive produce the feature, so she has even more of a creative investment in the film. This article continues. The film follows Willa Harba, a struggling actress trying to catch her big break, who is traveling overseas for a shoot with a self-obsessed star when their private jet crashes into the Pacific. Now the sole survivor, she's stranded on a fractured wing with nothing but ocean around her. Her only lifeline is a satellite phone salvaged from the wreck, but when she calls for rescue, her demanding studio boss, Barbara, played by Kate Beckinsale, brushes her off. Instead, her signal is picked up by marine biologist Sam Swatek, played by McNamara. She delivers chilling news. Willa has crashed into the infamous White Shark Cafe, a stretch of ocean where great whites gather to feed. Yes, yes, feed. I am so screwed up. You know, honestly, this sounds so ridiculous. This sounds so cheesy, and quite honestly, so kind of cliche. But you know what? I'm in. I'm in. Like you, the White Shark Cafe. That's a great. What a great name, by the way. So Kate Beckinsale playing the studio boss. This this sounds ridiculous. You know, crashing. You know, uh, this sounds this sounds like your typical modern shark movie. You know, crash landing and then you stranded and then bad shit. You know, I wish there was more substance to that, and maybe there will be. I don't know. Um, you've landed in the White Shark Cafe. uh, I th- again, this sounds completely cliche, but you know what? I'm in. Anytime I get to see a movie where humanity is devoured by uh, by predatorial animals is fantastic. Humanity sucks. Uh, I don't know what else to say about this. I will say here's what I'll say. If Kate Beckinsale wasn't going to be in this movie, I would have no interest in it. I don't know I don't know what that says about me again, but it's just like I love Kate Beckinsale. I think her career. I mean, she was in Pearl Harbor. I mean, again, not but that financially, that movie was wildly successful. I think. I think. Um, let me just do the math here. Yeah. So Pearl Harbor was financial. I mean, it wasn't a good movie, but it was really successful. And then she was in the Underworld movies, and then she showed up in The Aviator. I mean, she was. I mean, there was a point when she was a big star, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, her she's been in some not so high profile stuff lately. And it would be great to see her in a movie like this. I hope there's more substance to it than this. But but again, if she wasn't in it, I wouldn't have any interest in it. But because it's her, it's I think she's incredibly talented. Um, I think she's a very wide ranging actress. Um, I just you know uh yeah, but a shark movie, sharks eating people, awesome. Sign me up. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay, a couple more bits of news. I'm going to do another episode later today, but again, like I don't want to talk for 3 hours continuously. I want to give you guys a break from me. Um, so For those who don't know, um, so I'm a speaking of going back to the Jean Claude Van Damme kind of martial arts kinds of films. Um, Excuse me, just a second. Um, I'm a big Jackie Chan fan. Now I say that, but there are a lot of his earlier stuff, his the stuff that he did overseas. Uh, I haven't seen, but he's awesome. I love Jackie Chan. I need to watch more of his earlier work. So for those who don't know, um, Jackie Chan was in this um, kind of action adventure franchise, um, which he the first installment was in 1986, and it was kind of this action adventure franchise that was similar to Indiana Jones, and it was called Armor of God. And Jackie Chan played this um, treasure hunter. Um, uh, it, Basically, it was similar to Indiana Jones. Um, there was Chinese Zodiac. There was Armor of God 2, and then there was Chinese Zodiac. Chinese Zodiac wasn't that good. Um, but this franchise was called Armor of God. And there has been news regarding that franchise. Um, this article is on MovieWeb, published by Jonathan Feud. Um, and about halfway down this article, it says Armor of God 4 Ultimatum has now been given the green light, with Variety revealing that the action adventure follow up will start production in Kazakhstan, marking Chan's first movie in the region. Directed by Robert Kuhn and produced by Salem Entertainment, Armor of God 4 Ultimatum sees Jackie Chan return as the treasure hunter and is scheduled to begin principal photography in July, with filming taking place across Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan. The sequel is eyeing a worldwide release in 2027. The first plot details have also been released, and you can check them out below. The film continues the story of Jackie Chan's recurring character, the Asian Hawk, who is drawn back into action when a global hunt erupts over an ancient artifact known as the Tumar, carrying a reward of more than $20 million. Cool. Awesome. There are lots of different kinds of movies that I love, obviously. Um, I love treasure hunt movies, obviously Indiana Jones, Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Um, I love uh I just love these kinds of movies. Um, and it sounds like, Armor of God 4, he's being drawn back into action, possibly reluctantly, maybe. That would be interesting. Um, Hopefully, Armor of God 4 is better than the last one. The first and second one were great. Um, so yeah, and it's scheduled for worldwide release, which is awesome. I love Jackie Chan. I recently watched, there was a movie that he was in with Pierce Brosnan called, hold on. Um The Foreigner. Um and it's this kind of action thriller movie, um, where Jackie Chan kind of plays this. It's like a cat and mouse game where Jackie Chan, uh, uh, his character his character's daughter is killed in a bombing, and he goes after the he tries to go he goes after the people who were responsible for the bombing, and one of those people is Pierce Brosnan's character. And it's a pretty decent movie, and Jackie Chan can, watching that movie, I'm like, man, you can still go, man. Holy shit. And it's an incredibly dramatic performance as well. Like, it's not just a Jackie Chan action movie. Like, it's a very well it's a very well crafted dramatic performance from Jackie Chan. But man, you know, I you know, man, he can still go. Good lord. Um and it was directed by Martin Campbell. But anyway, um yeah, I love these kinds of movies, and you know, anytime I get to see Jackie Chan, you know, uh, just the way he utilizes uh, the the environments around him to cause pain to others. it's it's just, and I know this is going to sound typical, but like the way he uses, like in the Rush Hour movies, the way he uses the objects in the various objects in whatever environment he's in to cause pain to others is just bonkers. Forget about it. Um, yeah, I love treasure hunt movies. I love Jackie Chan. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Armor of God 4. Okay, so one last bit of news here that I briefly wanted to touch upon. And I wanted to touch upon it because I talked about it several weeks ago or several episodes ago. I don't. This show was never going to be a TMZ bullshit kind of show where, he said this, he was accused of this, and blah 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 blah. However, I do think that when it comes to certain things, it can affect what we choose to see. Going back to separating the art from the artist kind of thing. Um, and several weeks ago, um, or yeah, several weeks ago, I talked about the fact that Will Smith had been there was a sexual harassment lawsuit. Um, he was accused of sexual harassment. Um, and I want to make sure I get this um, right here. Um, it was a lawsuit filed against him for sexual harassment, and at that time, it was only it's only every at that time it's just, and again, depending on the severity of what you say or do, I'm just like when I talked about it several weeks ago, I was just like, this is that combined with however you feel about the him slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars, you have that on top of this sexual harassment lawsuit. This is not a good look. And I just said, you know what? Fuck it. You need help, Will Smith. You, but I'm just at that point I just tapped out to Will Smith. I'm just like I can't you know be a financial supporter of your work anymore. Um, However, and I've talked about this before, I do think that what intelligent people should do is when new information or new evidence comes to light, what intelligent people should do is reevaluate their thoughts and opinions on the matter. And there has been new evidence and new information regarding that sexual harassment lawsuit. This was published on May 8th on the cover media section on Yahoo. And to be honest with you, I read something about there's Will Smith is going to be in this new movie. And I think it's going to go straight to streaming. And when I saw that he was going to be in this new movie, I was like, oh, I wonder what the. It just got me curious. Like, I wonder what the development, if there's been any development on this sexual harassment lawsuit. And so I looked it up, and I found this. Again, this was published on May 8th in the cover media section of Yahoo. Yahoo Entertainment. This article reads, a judge has dismissed a sexual harassment and wrongful termination lawsuit filed against Will Smith at the start of the year. In January, violinist Brian King Joseph filed a civil complaint against the Bad Boys actor and Treyball Studios management at the Superior Court of California. In the lawsuit, Joseph claimed that he was wrongfully terminated from his job as a musician on the Based on a True Story tour after reporting an incident in Las Vegas in March of 2025. And then it goes into detail about the allegations. And then the article continues, but in a court order obtained by Billboard this week, Judge Michael Schultz dismissed the case, declaring that the note didn't meet the requirements of sexual misconduct in the workplace. The allegations do not support a severe and pervasive concerted pattern of harassment sufficient to create an abusive working environment, he wrote, according to the outlet. The judge also ruled that Joseph didn't prove that he was dismissed as a result of reporting something improper in the workplace. Let's see. So um, the sexual harassment case has been dismissed. There's no, um, there hasn't been any, um, let me see here. I want to make sure if there's anything else regarding this. Basically, the judge rules that the evidence did not constitute as workplace sexual misconduct. Um, yeah. So, um, yeah. So, um, so yeah. So there's no sufficient evidence to um, show that Will Smith and his company are guilty of this. Okay, now as a fan of Will Smith, I can go. Okay, there's been development. He, as far as the judge is concerned, Will Smith and his company aren't guilty of any of this. Okay, fine. Now, as a fan of Will Smith, I can go. Okay, I was, I have been proven. The court has said nope. Will Smith is good. All right. That's how black and white it is for me. Now I can go back to continuing. Um, you know, now I can go back to continuing to be a fan of Will Smith. Um, that's how black and white it is for me, at least. I don't know about anybody else, but I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit and get it off my chest. Um, but yeah, so yeah. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Um, I will be back on a little later. I need to. Uh, I want to take a little break before I come back. Um, but yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode and continue to enjoy the show. As always, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about anything in particular, um, you know, hit me up. Uh, yeah, and as always, I mean, I don't know. I yeah, I hope everyone's doing okay. I know I've been talking a lot about um, lately a lot about uh, mental health. Well, I haven't been talked a lot about it. I've talked a little bit about it. I've talked a little bit about mental health and my mental health lately, which I feel is healthy. I think it's healthy to talk about that. I think it's necessary to talk. I think it's necessary and I think it's healthy. And like I always say, there's a lot of crazy shit going on right now. I think we're in a really basically one of the goals of this show is to provide a break from all of that, both for you and myself. um, so yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you continue to enjoy the show in the future. If you have a comment, a question, if you'd like me to talk about, you know, anything, any films or franchises that you wonder if you know if you want to get my thoughts on anything, uh, yeah, you know, email me, drop a comment. And I will be back on a little later today. And as always, I will see you at the movies.